Today on Nova Legends podcast, I have Loudoun County sharpshooter Brittany Batts, who's coaching at Gannon College now. Matter of fact, she was last year Division II Assistant Coach of the Year, which is amazing. Coach, great to see you. Thanks for doing this.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for having me. I'm excited to join.
Oh, of course. Well, let me give you some of your background. It's pretty amazing. So you led Loudoun County to a state championship, I believe, in 2006, Coach? Or
I want to say maybe that was 2009. I think
nine?
we
Okay.
won, so it's 2009. Yeah.
Yeah, you went a few times. I was in the gym this weekend for a game, and I saw the banner up there. It must be
Okay.
cool for you to leave your mark like that. You led them to the state title. You were twice first team All State. Your all-time leading scorer, school history. Your second all-time Virginia three-pointers. Your first team All State. Yeah. So just an amazing record. You went to Gannon. You were second all time in three pointers as a player at Gannon, and I believe Gannon's northwestern Pennsylvania near area.
Yes, right on Lake Erie. Yep.
Yeah, scored more than 1,100 points. You've been an assistant coach at these might not be in the right order, but Bridgewater,
Mhm.
Castleton, Shepherd, and Chicago State. And
Yep.
you're playing for the same you're playing for the same coach. You're coaching now for the same coach you played for. Um,
Correct.
yeah, I'm blanking on his name. Help me out, Coach.
Cleve Wright.
That's right. So
Yep.
did I get most of that right though?
Yeah. That's good. You told me some stuff it's like running the memory bank a little bit.
Well, us guys, and I don't want to generalize, but we tend to dwell on our high school. We tend to dwell on our high school success, whereas I find female athletes, they play their sport, they do well, and then they move on. I mean, life goes on. I find guys, we get kind of mired in it. Do you find that to be true?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of it, like I've stayed in basketball for so long, there's like so many other memories I've made too, like super grateful for my time at County. I played with some really good players, had some really great coaches. But like when you asked me about when we won states, like obviously I remember winning states, but the year I was like, I don't know. I have to think about that for a second. You call my dad and you ask him, he'll know everything right away. But yeah, no. So it's just funny how like what seemed so big at that time, you're like looking back on it, you're like, man, I don't even remember who we played that night. Like I remember the celebration in the locker room, but I don't remember who we played. So it's kind of makes you appreciate the little things a little bit more now.
Yeah, and I think also you have so many games after high school that sometimes it can get blurry. I think if that's your last game, it might be easier to remember. Um,
Yeah.
we were talking before we went on that you were known as a shooter. Your
Hmm.
record speaks for itself. Um, has the game changed in that there are more people like you now? So in the last 15 years since you're in high school, and as you've watched the game develop as a coach, or more female players, but also players generally just shooting the three-pointer. Are you less rare now than you would have been 15 years ago?
Um, Maybe, yeah. I think a lot of people are definitely shooting the three a lot more. Like you look at statistics and just teams and they're putting the three up at a much higher percentage, but it's like, are they making it at a higher percentage as well, right? Everyone's shooting more threes, but are you making more threes as well? So I think that's kind of the argument. The game has definitely evolved into more of like a guard-oriented game. Everyone wants to go five out, take shots in the first 10 seconds, and kind of see who can outscore the other, it seems like. But I would say like the sharpshooter who just like is kind of a spacer on the floor is more prevalent, but you're not going to find five of them on a team. You may still find two of them on a team.
Right.
But the person who it's like, no matter what, you are not leaving him or her, like we are not letting them shoot a three. I think I kind of took pride in that definitely when I was a player, like don't leave me or I'll make you pay. So like you can go give up the layup to my teammate. Great. That's an easy 2 points. That's a much higher percentage shot than my shot from three. So I think that's something I kind of take pride in. And now as a coach, like talking with players and the ones who are shooters, it's like, hey, take pride in the fact like you may have only shot it three times today, but it's because they let our post players just go to work inside, or they let our guards just get to the hoops for easy layups because they were afraid to leave you. So I think that's kind of something unique about like just having someone who is a pure shooter and just wants to shoot it and shoot it at a really high clip.
Yeah, yeah. As a coach, is it very difficult to make somebody a shooter? So by the time you get to them, they've already played, obviously a lot of basketball, and they've been successful to be playing in
Mhm.
Division II basketball for sure. How much of a difference can you make as a coach in their shooting? Can you really work on their technique, or is it something basically they're pretty well formed by the time you get them?
Yeah, I think that's something I definitely leave like the technicalities to it to my head coach. He's great at doing that. Like if someone's shot needs to be tweaked a little bit, he takes care of that, but we're not like reinventing anybody's shot. So it's like you may have to lift your elbow a little bit higher. Like we'll get you on the gun so that your arc has to be a little bit higher. Or there may be something like it's coming off of your pinky finger. We want it coming off of your pointer finger or your like peace sign fingers basically. So little things like that. But I think it's the mentality. And when you get to college, you essentially have 24/7 gym access. So it's like, okay, you want to become a great shooter. Like your resources are right here. You got swipe access to the gym all the time. So it's like if you want to become a great shooter, like, yeah, we may have to fix some things with your form, but at the same time, you got to be persistent and disciplined about getting your shots up every single day, like focusing on your form shooting, free throws, like mid range, and then work it out to the three as well. So I think it's the mental side that I kind of try to talk with them about a little bit more. And then like I said, the technicality stuff, my head coach is great at that. So I hear what he's saying to them and then I just like reiterate it with them. So
Yeah, as a shooter, if you can, how would you describe the importance of the mental part of it as opposed to the technique of shooting? How much there's people who have great technique, but they mentally they fail for some reason, and others
mhm.
their shots aren't pretty, but they're really good shooters. But what do you think? How important is the mental aspect of shooting?
Yeah, I think it's super important. Shooters got to have a short-term memory, right? It doesn't matter if you've missed the last three or four in a row, the next one's always going in. And doesn't matter if you made the last one, next one's still going in. And it's something we use with our team here. Our head coach started using it. Like Steph Curry, he was getting interviewed not long ago. And he said the second he released the ball, he didn't care about if it was going in or not. He just knew like the way it left his hands. Like if it left his hands right, he was like, all right, that's like a really good shot of it going in. Because sometimes we can't control the bounce of the rim, you know?
Yeah.
Can't control the fact that it's going to be a swish or whatnot. So we want it leaving their hands right. We want your feet set, like taking good shots, not rushed, kick out threes, and just like knowing that next one is always going in. You can't be dwelling on the last two misses. So it's all about, Ted Lasso, goldfish mentality. You got to forget the last shot because the next one's always going in.
Yeah. Well, speaking of soccer, my son was a soccer player. By the way, we live up here in Lansdowne now, so I'm probably
Oh, nice.
close to where you grew up. Um,
Yep.
but I was there was this kid on my son's travel team, one of these years, and he just dribbled all the time and shot all the time, and it was very I felt it was very disruptive. So I was talking to one of the other parents, a really nice guy, and he said to me, every team has one or two of these, and sometimes that's the kind of mentality you need of the scorer. It's kind of the selfish kid. Is there any notion of that in basketball that the shooter and the scorer is the selfish person?
No, I don't think so because you're still anytime like an individual scores, you're scoring for the team, right? Like we're not asking our players to force 15 to 20 shots a game. Like we want you to take shots within our offense, shots with your feet set, you're feeling good, your eyes are to the rim, like you have good balance. So I don't think a scorer needs to be selfish by any means. Maybe you're hunting for your shot a little bit more. Like we talk to our shooters, like you're always on the hunt, like you're on the hunt. Like if you see a window, like we talk about windows, you got the big bay windows. Like some people need that much space to shoot, but we want our shooters like the little bathroom window. Like that's all you need. So it's kind of like pumping them with confidence. Like, yeah, that person was closing out on you, but her hands were down, like hands down, man down.
Yeah.
So I think it's more the hunting mentality, but I don't think any of our players, we're fortunate here at Gannon, none of our players are selfish by any means. And they understand that when I score, we score. And their teammates understand that too. So I think sometimes you have to have a little bit more of a knack, like you're looking maybe for your shot before you're looking for something else. But I wouldn't say it's a selfish mentality by any means.
Yeah. Do you guys use analytics and try to reach a certain number of three pointers that you shoot and make per game?
We don't do that here within our program, but we definitely like our men's team here at Gannon. They're all about that. They go 5 in, 5 out. They're shooting quick threes. They're great at it. They went to an Elite Eight last year. They're doing super well again this year. But we don't necessarily focus on that. We still love the post player here at Gannon. And when I talk to shooters, it's like, okay, you should love your post player because they're going to take pressure away from you. Like last year, we had the National Player of the Year last year, and she was a post player. So obviously, our shooters are licking their chops at that because people are wanting to double and triple team that, and they're getting the easy kick out, or not easy kick out threes, but she could see the double coming and kick it out to the shooters. So when I talk to people like recruiting, it's like, okay, if you have a really good post player, you're going to want a really good shooter to complement that, or vice versa. A good shooter wants a great post player. And this year we're still pretty similar. We're looking to pound it inside, and they start doubling, tripling. Like hopefully those are kick out threes for our guards, and they'll be able to knock them down.
Yeah. Well, Brittany, I played back in the Stone Age. I was Robinson class of '84. And
Okay.
when we played, when you fed the post, that ball generally didn't come back out. And they weren't really taught to do
Yep.
that. But now the post they pass to all different points around the 3 point stripe. That's actually part of the offense. To me, that's one of the biggest and probably the best change in the game.
Okay, yeah. I think I mean, just the way the game has evolved, I think everyone's so much more like involved in the game. Like I think in the past it was really just maybe you have five people on the court, but it's really focused around three players, what you're running.
Yes.
But now it's like whether you're four out, one in, five out, running sets, you're running motion offenses. It's just all about ball movement, like how many paint touches can you get, how many times, like how many quick passes can you zip your passes to each other. I think it's just when you watch a team that moves the ball super well, it's really fun to watch as opposed to people who are just trying to kind of break you down one on one. When you incorporate the post, I think the ball can move a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, well, one thing I've noticed, and I was away from the game for many years because, like I said, my son played soccer. I officiated and I coached and I played, but then I got away from. Then I came back about 4 or 5 years ago because I was getting involved in social media and doing this podcast. And I realized the game had changed in so many different ways, and it was very exciting. But one thing that I noticed is that people screen on the ball, and that was something that
Mhm.
we didn't do years ago. You didn't screen on the ball. In the NBA they did because they had illegal defense rules, but that was something that we didn't do. And also, the players did more reading on the court defensively and offensively. Like the full court press might be keyed by a read rather than a coach calling it, and or any kind of pressure. Maybe it's 3/4 court pressure, but also offense. The players do more reading instead of having more of an offense in place. Is that true? Am I reading that right?
Yeah, I think so. I mean, we're talking to our players all the time, like whether we may put them in a like advantage, disadvantage situation in practice, and it's like, okay, can you see the next best thing that's about to happen? Because a great player can see the next best thing about to happen, whether it's a pass, whether it's another dribble, a shot, whatever it may be. But just being able to see the game kind of a step ahead. And like when it comes to reads, like we kind of run an offense it's not really read and react, I would say, but it's based on reads. It's like, okay, where's the help defender? Where's the on ball defender? Where's the post defender? So we're trying to teach them to look at not only who's guarding you, but what's happening all over the court. And it's like, all right, this is your first look. This is your second look. Like when you're putting together press break, first look, second look. And then we have some calls that kind of like tell them what read to make. But hopefully, like as the season progresses, we're getting better and better at we're just like reading it on our own. Like,
Hmm.
all right, a team's overplaying you. Can you go back door more often? Instead of just like getting stuck in a set or whatnot. So I think, and that's fun. As a coach, I love coaching that part because it's just like that's them understanding the game so much more. Because a lot of times people get to you and they may play with blinders on, right? They're in high school and they scored X amount of points and it was just them. They had no teammates who could do much around them. And then you get to college and you're with everyone's best player. And it's like, all right, what are you seeing around you? Like this, you're a good shooter, but is a great shooter right next to you open for an even better shot. So just like seeing the game as a whole. And as a coach, that's just so much fun to coach when they like make the right reads and you just see the light kind of turn and it's like, all right, the blinders were like this and now they're a little bit wider. So just them seeing the whole court, just spatial awareness.
Yeah. Well, Brittany, you've coached at a lot of different schools, and so you've worked with different coaches. How
Mhm.
important has that been to your development? Do you think you'd have been the same coach you are now if you would have graduated from Gannon and stayed in the same program the whole time, or you think it's been really helpful for you to see Division I at Chicago State, Division III, getting a little bit of all three different experiences?
Yeah, no, I definitely wouldn't be the coach I am today. I think if I just worked under one person, like love my head coach, but I've learned so much from the other coaches I've worked for as well. And working for like women head coaches is so cool too. And just like the way every little thing, whether it's recruiting, whether what you're doing on court, how you're going to run practice, how you're going to put together a scouting report. There's so many little things I've picked up from every single person I've worked for that it's like, okay, that's really good. Like I could see myself using that in the future. And there's a lot that we do here at Gannon that I'm like, yeah, that's me. Like that's what we're going to do in the future. But then like sprinkling on all the other stuff I've learned from the other head coaches I've worked for. And I'm really fortunate. I've worked for a lot of really good people. and just the lessons I learned, whether it's like how you deal with conflict on the team, or when you're at Division 3, recruiting is obviously a little bit different than it is at Division 2 and Division 1 because you don't have scholarship money. But it's like some of the stuff we would do at Division 3, it's like, all right, if I took that to a scholarship program, like maybe it gives you a little bit of an extra like up just because you knew how to grind it out when you didn't have money to offer to kids. So but yeah, definitely learned a lot from, I think I've worked for 5 head coaches now and learned so much from every single one of them.
Yeah.
So,
What kind of players do you get at Division 2 in the women's game now? Like in Virginia, we have a robust Division 3. Um, we have conferences. We have the ODAC and we
mhm.
have some of the other ones coast to coast. I get kind of confused sometimes,
Yep.
but they're high level, and not just in basketball, but in football, and they're really great sports conferences. But they're definitely wealthier schools, and it's a little bit different. We don't have a big Division 2 environment here. We have Virginia Union, I think Virginia State, and maybe a school out western part of the state as well, but not very much. So we don't hear about Division 2 quite as much, probably in the DC area. What
Mhm.
kind of kids play Division 2, and what is the opportunity at Division 2?
Yeah, I think at Division 2, you can get, I mean, sometimes we're going head to head with other small Division 1 schools when we're recruiting kids, right? And that's how we kind of know, or not know, we're doing the right thing. But like if we hear someone say, oh yeah, I'm getting recruited by XYZ and it's a small mid-major near us, we're like, okay, like we still have a legitimate shot at this kid. Like it doesn't scare us off by any means. And at Division 2, we've also recruited people who didn't have any scholarship looks whatsoever, and they like Gannon was maybe their only scholarship option, and they turned into all conference players, all Americans. Like it's all about, how much potential do we see in that kid? And that's something my head coach is huge about. He's like, okay, like we can see what she can do now, but do you see her getting better? Like can we continue to improve her game at this level? And what we're trying to kind of sell here at Gannon with the success that we've had, and it's like, okay, like you can come to Gannon, you're gonna have to work your butt off and you're gonna have to compete, and we're gonna try to recruit over you every single day because we want better and better players,
You
and you
tell
should
them
want
that?
that because
Wow.
yeah, if you're a competitive person, you're gonna say, good luck, coach. Like I'm gonna make that as hard as possible on you.
Yeah.
So and if we're doing our job well, we're just bringing better and better players, and they're continue to get better as they stay here. And it's like, okay, we've been doing Elite 8, we've been to Final 4, like we're knocking on the door of a national championship. Like, do you want to be a part of that? So just like kind of talking on the national level is kind of something we take pride in because our program's been there multiple times, and national championship is what we want. Like, obviously, we take care of business every single day. Like conference regular season, conference tournament, everything like that. But when we're recruiting, yeah, we're just you want to come compete and get better and be surrounded by people who want to make you better and who love you and care about you. Gannon's the place to be, that's for sure. So,
Yeah. Well, do you enjoy the recruiting process? I mean, it's sales, and it's a big part of your job. I mean, do you
yeah.
like it?
Yeah, no, recruiting's fun. I mean, it's fun going out. Obviously, we go to Louisville every year for the big tournament, Run for the Roses down there, going to some high school games, getting in high school gyms, kind of kicking it with the locals, finding out what's really going on. But no, I enjoy recruiting, and it's so much fun building the relationship with that player. Like right now, we have 4 freshmen on the team, 6 sophomores. So I was a part of recruiting all of them, which is awesome, and it's just fun. Like we knew them when they were 16 years old and they hardly knew what college basketball was. Like they were rising juniors or rising seniors in high school. And it's just fun to see them develop, and it's fun getting to know their families throughout the recruiting process, showing them. And like the best part is when we're recruiting, I get to show people why I love Gannon so much. Like, oh, you showed up early? Great. It gives me 20 extra minutes to tell you why Gannon's the place to be. Like, I love working at Gannon, love Erie. So, I think recruiting, it's just when people come on campus, it's like, great, we get to brag about our program for a little bit and hopefully see if this is the right fit for us, for you, stuff like that, and just move on and continue to build on the relationship.
Yeah. Well, you mentioned, I think you said 4 freshmen and 6 sophomores, or vice versa.
Yeah, yeah, 4 freshmen, 6 sophomores. Yep.
Yeah. Well, so, I follow the men's local game pretty closely at college, and they're just recruiting kids out of the portal now. You're
Hmm.
getting these kids like George Mason's having a phenomenal year this year, men and women. But the men's team they lost their whole team in the portal last year, completely retooled it, and they're going to win the I think the first Atlantic 10 maybe in many years.
Oh,
Um,
wow.
so it's almost 100. I don't want to say 100%, but 75% of the recruiting now is in the portal and older players. What about you guys? Are you seeing that at Division II level, and specifically has Gannon embraced the portal?
Yeah, we definitely see it at the Division II level as well. We at Gannon, we're still trying to get those 4-year kids. I mean, it's not that we've ignored the portal by any means, but if we do recruit anyone out of the transfer portal, it's someone we've had a previous relationship with. Like right now, we have 2 transfers on the team. I think overall in my time here, we've coached 3 transfers, but we had a previous relationship with them. I mean, 2 have been from Erie, Pennsylvania, so that obviously helps us a little bit. And I think it's something, the portal is something you can't ignore by any means. I think it's just what fits your style. Like, are you okay with someone maybe only playing a year for you? Or do you want to really work on developing someone from freshman to senior? And some coaches, they may say, no, we want to get old and stay old. So they just want to recruit old and stay old because there's maturity that comes with people who have playing experience at the college level. But yeah, I mean, at Gannon, like I said, if we know someone and they end up in the portal, like we may reach out, but it's not something we're not like scouring it every single day to see who's popping up in there. And just because like when you recruit out of the portal, the recruiting process gets so much quicker because people are looking to make decisions pretty quick. And we're known for being like really slow when it comes to the offer here at Gannon because we want to make sure the fit is right for both of us. You fit in with the team. Like we have these recruits spend so much time with our team because we want to make sure the teams who you're going to spend so much time with. I mean, the coaches, yeah, we're going to coach you in practice, care about you, take care of everything off the court as well. But your teammates are your best friends. So just making sure it's the right fit. But I mean, at Division II, we see transfers all the time as well. So it's hit, I think, every single level.
Yeah. Oh, do you also worry when your kids are doing really well and maybe they surprise you, they may use the portal to leave you. So is there a sense you have to keep recruiting the kids that you already have?
I don't look at it as like we have to keep recruiting them. I think it's we just keep loving them and caring for them every single day, whether they're scoring 20 points for us or that they're being the most supportive teammate on the bench. Like I think we just show every single person in our program, like we care about you. I mean, you are being super competitive in practice. Like, are you doing the little things every single day that make you a great teammate? And I think they fall in love with the program, the team, like our goals here, our standards here. And hopefully we don't have to worry about them hitting the portal or anything like that. Or if there is thoughts of that, there's an open communication with us. But I think, yeah, as long as you love them while they're here, I think females especially really value that and they have strong relationship with their teammates and coaches and know that people are willing to go the extra mile for them. I think that goes a long way.
Yeah. Well, I did notice that one of your 3-point shooters is from Australia. Um,
Yeah.
yeah. Which one is she coach? I don't want to get the wrong name. Is that Carissa?
No, she's from Erie. The other one, Maddie Wheatley, she's from Canberra, Australia. Yeah.
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 So I guess probably they were using the international 3-point line when she was in Australia, I'd imagine. So was she playing ball in
Yep.
Australia, or was she just Australian and actually moved here and played high school basketball here?
No, she's like straight from Australia. Yeah, came over here. I think, gosh, we just celebrated 4 years with her. She's a 22-year-old junior. So that COVID year, and she had a medical register. We were able to get some extra time with her, which is awesome.
Wow.
So yeah, but I mean, the international recruiting process, gosh, you can recruit kids from literally anywhere in the world these days. And then with the power of like Zoom and sharing of film and stuff like that, just makes your net gets that much wider for who you want to recruit. But yeah, super lucky to have all of them here.
So how would you get an international player? Do you have to? Is there like a not an agent, but someone who has who's tied into those sources, almost like a person would be? I'm sure you have coaches in DC you can call, like a high school coach that said, "Hey, if you see anyone good around the area that might be slipping through the cracks." But how do you find an international player?
Yeah, I think over time you do tend to develop relationships and like maybe you have a player, like we have a player from there and it's like, okay, hey, if any of your friends from home, like if they're good at basketball, like obviously, you can set them up with us. But with her actually, her coach had emailed our head coach and I wasn't here during her recruiting process, but sent some film. Really liked what we saw in the film. Our head coach got on Zoom with her a couple times, got to know her and her family. I think she did a Zoom with the team. Like there was still that process. The only thing we couldn't do was obviously get her on campus. So yeah, and then obviously one thing led to another, and we're really fortunate she ended up here at Gannon with us. And then we actually have a second person from the same town as her in Australia on the team as
Wow.
well. So you kind of just like develop relationships that way. And I mean, every single day we're getting probably 5 to 10 emails a day about kids I mean, it may be an email that's going to every other coach in the country, but like you can try to like form relationships out of that. And our head coach, him having been in the business a long time, has a lot of connections kind of all over. And when you go to different events and stuff like that, talking to other coaches, get to know people that way, and you try to get like connections in little pockets. So you can kind of, hey, I heard about this kid. Like, is she the real deal? Or whatnot. But I think the biggest thing is trusting your eyes in recruiting, like no matter what other people are saying. Trust your eyes when it comes to her playing ability. Obviously, you're going to talk to people about like, hey, is she disciplined? Is she a hard worker? Is she a great teammate? Stuff like that. But the most important thing, I think, is trusting your eyes and what you see, what she's putting on the court.
Yeah.
So,
Well, you don't have
yeah.
to, I don't want you to generalize, but do you find international players different? I mean, do they have a different transition to college basketball? And there is, because I'm sure the game was a little bit different than ours.
Yeah, I mean, I only have the experience with these two Australians. And then when I was at Chicago State, I coached a couple international kids, but I wouldn't say the adjustment. I think like the adjustment to America is a bigger culture shock than the adjustment to college basketball
Right.
in America. Just because like when you toss the ball up, anyone can play pickup, right? We can go down the street to the court down the street, and you just toss a ball up, and people play pickup. So I think there's some like there's not many rule changes. Like they'll let you know anytime there is, like, oh yeah, back at home, like we do this, and like we'll make fun of them about little things here and there. But I think the adjustments I've seen have been super smooth, and I haven't really worked with too many where there's a language barrier. I could see there being a bigger adjustment when maybe the student athlete doesn't speak English super well or something like that. But then at the same time, like that just makes you a better coach because you're going to find a better way to coach her as well and get her to connect with her teammates. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
Coach, you guys are 22-5 this year, which is great. I mean, I think you've won more than 80% of your games since you've been there, maybe even higher than that. It's been amazing. This is probably a fun time of year for you, I would think. Maybe
Mhm.
you'd say it's a real busy time of year. But what are some of the things you're doing this time of year to prepare for conference tournaments and then the NCAA's?
Yeah, definitely taking things one day at a time, right? Not overlooking any single day. Like practice is still an opportunity to get better every single day. Like right now, we're in a bye week right now. So we played this past Saturday. We don't play again until this coming Saturday, when we're used to playing on Wednesday nights. And it's like, all right, we're going to make the most of these 5 days essentially, and still try to get better every single day. Stay hungry, stay on the hunt. Like don't get complacent, because I think our team can still get better. But if we just show up to practice and kind of walk through the motions, obviously no team is going to get better when you're just walking through the motions. So competing against each other in practice, and still finding the little things we can improve on every single day. And like the big thing we say with our team all the time is stay hungry. Like don't get satisfied. Like it's January, stay hungry. It's the beginning of February, stay hungry. Conference tournament doesn't start for another couple games, stay hungry. Like you can't just turn that switch on and off. So that's kind of the mentality we try to like encourage with our team. So
Yeah. The postseason in college, and you did this as a player and also now as a coach. Is it similar to the
mhm.
postseason runs in high school? Is it the same kind of energy? Or is it different?
um Yeah, I mean, definitely like regular season. You got the end of the regular season come up, so it's like all how the public perceives it, right? And we're trying to control everything within the walls of our program. Like, okay, the public may think this is a big game, but every game's a big game because you got a Gannon jersey on. So, trying not to like let emotions of that come into play, but obviously there's a little bit more buzz in the air when it becomes playoffs, just because of like the media around you and like I said, what the public is saying. We're super fortunate. We have a lot of fans here at Gannon, but they love to tell us our opinion at the same time. Just like trying to stay focused. And it's like, okay, like regular season's over in what, 2 weeks? Now everyone's 0-0. Like you still got to bring it every single day. You still got to stay hungry, like I've said. But I would say, I mean, growing up in Leesburg and going to county, like we were fortunate. We had great fans there too. And playoff basketball started, and there were always a couple more fans in the stands. I mean, we were lucky; we played in front of people all the time. But you're playing in the district or regional championship, whatever it may be, and you're probably playing in front of a packed house. And I would say it's similar in that aspect here. Like playoffs start, and it's like, oh, more and more people keep coming out, but doesn't change our mentality by any means. Like our goals stay the same, stuff like that. So
Yeah, Loudoun County
yeah.
it has a great gym. Even if it's not packed, it's
Mhm.
loud. It just has a great environment. I was there Saturday for the Tuscarora Heritage game, and it was just
Okay.
Just amazing energy. The crowd, the student bodies were so much fun and yelling at each other. The Loudoun County, like security, it was a neutral court. They just held, you had
Yep.
it at Loudoun County, and the Loudoun County security, they wouldn't let the kids really have fun and yell at each other, which
Oh,
I thought they were a little bit overboard.
man.
Yeah, but anyway,
Yeah. Then they, and the thing I love about counties, Jim, is the banners, right? That makes
yeah, I
us
love
so
the
unique.
banners.
I love the banners. It makes it kind of old school. Like we're one of the oldest schools in the county, and like we stay old school with the way we do the banners. And it's like looking up, it's like, oh yeah, I was a part of that one, that one, that one. It's just kind of fun to go back and look at that stuff.
Yeah,
So
when I saw your banner, I'm like, hey, I'm interviewing Brittany on Monday, and that was just a Saturday. Well, I want to get back to your playing at County in a second, but what kind of students, what kind of kids go to Gannon? I mean, what attracts people to Erie, Pennsylvania?
yeah, definitely not people who love warm weather, that's for sure. If you're afraid of the snow, don't come to Erie, that's for sure.
Lake
But
effects.
no, yeah, it comes out of nowhere, that's for sure. We've had over 100 inches this year. It's pretty crazy. So,
What?
yeah, yeah. It's nuts. And not a single day of school has been canceled. You just carry on. So,
Wow. It's unreal.
yeah. But yeah, sorry about that little sidetrack.
No, no, no.
But yeah, the kind
It was
of
important. It
kind of
was
person that
important.
comes to Gannon, yeah, kind of person that comes to Gannon. I mean, we try to recruit like someone you got to get it done in the classroom and on the court, right? So someone who's disciplined in the classroom. We tend to get a lot of people who are interested in the health sciences. Like a lot of our alums are PAs, PTs, OTs, nurses. We have doctors. So just a lot of people who like you when you're recruiting like with women's basketball, like it's the whole person. We're not just recruiting the basketball player, right? We don't just call a kid, say, hey, I saw you play on Saturday, we want to offer you a scholarship. Like no, that would be saying we only care about you as a basketball player. So like really get to know them as a person. Like I said, they need to take academics seriously because we take academics seriously because that's what you're going to take into life, and that's what's going to set you up for success in life after basketball. So yeah, just kind of like the well-rounded person, good people, care about others, disciplined, loyal, someone who's committed. And then when they're great at basketball too, that obviously helps.
Exactly.
So
Yeah. They can shoot
yeah.
like Brittany. And do you
Yeah.
think does the student body in general closely mirror the kids on the women on the basketball team? Same type
Is,
of student?
did you say is the student body similar?
Yeah, the student body generally, not the basketball players, but just the student body generally. Are they similar to the kids on your team? Just get the same type of kids?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would say for the most part, yeah, I think it's pretty, like I said, like Gannon, when it comes to academics here at Gannon, like a lot of people are health sciences, like a majority of student, or not a majority, but a good amount of students here are health sciences, and you have to be pretty disciplined in the classroom to do well in those degrees. And engineering is pretty popular here. So just like the majors that are popular here, I think kind of brings disciplined, committed students to Gannon in general, which is great because those are the people our players are surrounded by every single day. So it's just it's a fun campus to be around. A lot of really good people here. The students will come support us at games. Professors are great here, faculty, all that. Everyone's super supportive of one another, and I think that's a perk of going to kind of a smaller campus. We're only about 4,000 students, but you don't know everybody, but you're familiar with a lot of people, and everyone wants the person next to them to do well, which I think is really unique.
Yeah.
So.
It doesn't sound like a party school.
No, I mean, if you want to find a party, I'm sure you can find a party,
Yeah.
right? There's college kids.
Yeah, I have a daughter.
So,
I have a daughter at James Madison, and
oh,
I'm always
okay.
hearing about Margarita Mondays and Tequila Tuesdays. I'm like,
Uh,
this we didn't have that when I was in college.
yeah. I mean, my sister's a Hokie. She chose Virginia Tech because she wanted college football game days.
Yeah, yeah, that's a different
So,
level down there.
yep.
Well, let's talk about Loudoun. Where did you grow up in Loudoun?
Yeah, I grew up right in Leesburg. We hit Sterling for like 2 or 3 years when I was little. I have no recollection of it whatsoever. And then Leesburg from like 3 on, and my parents still live in that same house, which is awesome because it's always nice to go home and still be familiar with everyone around you and everything like that. It's just amazing how much like every time I go home, I'm like, there's a new neighborhood, there's a new something
That's crazy.
everywhere. So
Yeah.
yeah, but yeah, I grew up in Leesburg my whole life. So
Did you live in
yeah.
Leesburg when you coached at Shepherd?
No, I did live in Shepherdstown when I was coaching at Shepherd. I could
Yeah,
have easily lived in Leesburg, but no,
yeah,
I lived right there in Shepherdstown. Make those early morning practices a little bit easier. So,
yeah.
yeah,
And that mountain drive can be a little bit shaky sometimes with those trucks on there. So
yeah.
when did you first start playing basketball?
First started playing organized basketball. Gosh, I think my parents signed me up for something maybe in like kindergarten or first grade. Not really sure. I probably should remember that. But yeah, I had to play in boys leagues because there wasn't girls leagues in Loudoun at the time. So first couple years I don't even remember the name of the league, Dulles Youth Basketball maybe or something like that. But yeah, I played, I think my first 2 years of basketball was in like boys leagues, and it was me and like two other girls, and that was it. So, but that's always kind of funny to look back on. And actually, my first ever basketball coach ended up being an assistant at Loudoun County all my 4 years there too. So it's like kind of full circle how all that came together. But yeah,
Were you a good
so
shooter? Were
played
you a
for a
good
long
shooter
time.
right away? Was that something that came
No,
together?
my dad told me the 3-point line didn't exist until you got to high school. So I didn't really know how to shoot a three until high school.
Oh, you made up for
So
lost time.
maybe that's why I became a good shooter. I wasn't trying to chuck it when I wasn't strong enough to shoot
Right.
it. So because I
Right.
think that's a bad habit sometimes. Like when we run camps and stuff like that, I see these little kids shooting threes, and I'm like, oh my gosh, like you're not even strong enough to shoot a free throw right now.
Yeah.
So, but no, I definitely was fortunate. My dad was a great rebounder my whole life. So great shooters need a great rebounder to pass on the ball. But yeah, no, I don't think I was like known as a shooter as a little kid. I was always like maybe pretty good at basketball. But then it was like once I got to high school, it was like, oh yeah, the 3-point line exists now. And I think even my freshman year of high school, I don't think I hit that many threes. So just kind of developed over time. And I love shooting. So I got in the gym and I got the work done. So
Who worked on your technique? I mean, I wasn't able to find any footage of you playing, but I saw some photos, and your technique looks
mhm.
perfect. At
Yeah.
least in photos. So who taught you your technique?
Yeah, I don't know if there's like any one person that taught me. I remember, I think I was in middle school. My dad took me to a couple workouts with his name was Coach Kitchen. His wife actually used to be the coach at Parkview. You probably know the name or last name. And
He's a legend, Coach Kitchen.
yeah, yeah. Okay, so you
Yeah.
know him.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so my dad took me.
He coached some of the best players in DC history.
Yeah, yeah. So, yeah, my dad took me to a couple workouts with him, I think at the old like Xerox Center or something like that. And he gave me this like plate that like I would tape to my hand, my guide hand. So anytime I shot the ball, my left hand could do nothing anytime I shot it.
Mm.
And that's something I like just kept with me throughout time. And we kind of credit that to like helping me a lot because like, I mean, you said you've seen pictures. My guide hand is nowhere near the basketball by the time it
Oh.
gets like to my chin. So and then other stuff, like I just learned little things over time. Like you always want it coming off your two-piece fingers. Like when you shoot it, it's like you're reaching your hand in the cookie jar. And it was just stuff that kind of like clicked with me well. And then like I said, I loved getting in the gym to shoot. So I think that helped me as well. So because I wasn't like perfect, like a lot of people would be like, oh, you dipped the ball too much and stuff like that. And I'm like, well, I don't get blocked. So do I
Yeah.
really have to change it?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but
Who
yeah,
was the
everyone
first
has
important
different
coach?
one.
Oh, I'm sorry, did I interrupt you?
No, 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 you're good. Yeah.
Okay. Who was the first important coach that you had? Was it, I mean, I guess Coach Kitchen was more of a training session, but who was the first
Yeah.
important coach who really taught you a lot about the game?
Yeah, I would say, when you get to high school, that's when the games started to get taken a little bit seriously. When I was in middle school, in eighth grade, I wasn't even on a basketball team. They didn't have a basketball team at Simpson, so
That's
I didn't have a
crazy.
basketball team to play for. I know,
Yeah.
like, and now, like, you see it, like, there's all these options for kids these days, which is amazing. And like, I'm like, I'm not even that old, am I? But like,
No.
it just wasn't an option in eighth grade.
That's
So I was
crazy.
super fortunate. My dad would take me to high school games at County all the time in eighth grade. And then got to know Kevin Reed was the coach there at the time. Got to know him through that. And then Brent Early was my coach in like first grade, and he was still there. So we had like all these connections, which was really cool. And I was really lucky. Coach Reed kind of let me see a glimpse into the program when I was in eighth grade. And then when I got to County, I was like, okay, I want to do like everything I can to be able to win here, be able to play here. So I'd say he was kind of like the first guy who really like when you're learning the game of basketball, he was super intense, um, everything like that. But yeah, we had some really competitive practices with him. And then playing AAU, I played for Scott Allen, who's the head coach over at Paul VI. He runs a great
Oh,
program
he's a
over at Paul
legend.
VI. And
Yeah.
yeah, so super fortunate I got to play AAU for him. And in my summer times, I would just go basically work his camps. And then I had the gym in between camps and the weight room and everything like that. So super fortunate for him. And if it weren't for, well, a lot of people, I wouldn't even be at Gannon, but Coach Allen was persistent about my recruiting process. Coach Reed was persistent. Coach Fisher's who I played for. My senior year, he was persistent about the recruiting process. So just really all three of those guys in high school, they were super passionate about the game of basketball. I'm super passionate about the game of basketball, and being around that kind of personality, I just really latched onto it. And I was like, all right, like not basketball isn't who I am by any means, but like I love playing basketball, and I was lucky I was around coaches who loved it as well and allowed for competitive environments and really taught the game super well. I mean, I was part of super successful teams. So
Oh,
yeah.
absolutely. That's still it's astounding how far behind Loudoun County was, because
Mhm.
my sister, I'm 60. Um, I'm 50. Excuse me, I'm 59. But my sister's a couple years older than me, and she was playing organized leagues like 11. She's playing travel basketball as 11-year-old. I guess Fairfax
Yeah.
was way more advanced. And we've had so many great players from Northern Virginia. So Coach Fisher has had unbelievable success at Woodgrove. I mean, they won the state championship last year. I mean, his style of play is unreal. They shoot so fast. They score
Mhm.
so many points. Then this year he loses all those girls last year. They graduated. One girl transferred to a private school. I'm sure you know who that is, and they're doing great
Mhm.
again this year. What
Yep.
is what is the key to Coach Fisher's success?
Yeah, man, Coach Fish is he's the best. I love that guy. But he cares so much for his players, and I think he instills so much confidence in his players too. Like someone, obviously he graduated I can think of two players right now off the top of my head from last year's squad that won the state championship, but probably even more than two.
I
Um,
think Sadie
yeah,
Shore,
Sadie and Angelina. I know he
Angelina. Yeah.
graduated, and I'm sure missing somebody else. But just like he instills so much confidence, I think, in his team, whether you played a lot for him last year or you didn't, and he makes the gym available to people. And when I found out he got the Woodgrove job, so kind of a side note. So during COVID, I had developed a relationship with a family through Shepherd and trained their kids. They were in middle school at the time. They're slated to go to Woodgrove. And then we found out Coach Fisher got the Woodgrove job. So I was like training all these kids who ended up going to Woodgrove. So I'm always like joking with them, hey, like I get some credit too.
Of course.
Um,
Come on.
but no, yeah, and just his style of play, I think he's always evolving with the game as well. Like he can adjust what he's doing so well on the offensive and defensive end to make his team successful. And it's like you said, you just see success from him year after year after year. And it doesn't surprise me one bit. I mean, I bump into him in the middle of nowhere, Pennsylvania, because he's there just to support his team. He's not coaching anybody, but he's there to support his players. And he may only have two or three players there, but he's there to make sure they know he cares about them and wants the best for them in the future. So I think that's part of why he's been super successful. And like I said, his basketball IQ is through the roof. Anytime I talk to him, like I'll shoot him a text randomly, like, hey, I was listening to this podcast. Like he said this, what's your opinion? Just super fortunate to still have that relationship with him.
Yeah. Is there anything about what the high school coaches do that makes you envious? Like, would you ever want to be a high school coach and teach like English or whatever, or do you enjoy the college game better?
Yeah, I mean, I respect what high school coaches do. I don't really see myself doing that by any means. I love the college game. There's so many aspects to the college game that I love. But yeah, support the high school coaches. But I don't know, maybe one day, but like right now, I just love college basketball so much. It's like I just can't see myself um going down and coaching 14 to 8-year-old or 14 to 18-year-olds instead of 18 to 22-year-olds. So
Yeah. Well, that's
yeah.
assistant coach of the year. So you've chosen wisely. Your sophomore year, and you were saying your first year, your freshman year, you didn't shoot many 3-pointers. Your sophomore year, you guys got to the state tournament, and
Mhm.
happened to have the program here. Um, when did you know that something clicked and you were going to be a special player? Is that because you trained with Kitchen and you were with Coach Allen? You were already around elite players. You can kind of feel it, or did you have like kind of a breakthrough that year and that kind of moved you to the next level?
Yeah, I think my freshman year, I was surrounded by so many great teammates too. Like I was surrounded by these upperclassmen who like just like pumped you up with confidence. And it's like, oh, like this is cool. Like when you're in middle school, like you're surrounded by good teammates, but like you don't know how to pump someone up with confidence. So definitely like being around them, just I was like a super shy kid. And being around them, they really got me to break out of my shell. And like I think freshman year, like being around those like upperclassmen helped that for sure. And I definitely realized I was kind of good at basketball my freshman year. And then after that, same thing, like I was still surrounded by so many really good players. Like I think part of the reason I was able to score so many points in high school is because there were always players better than me on the team. Like there were other players you had to focus on, right? You couldn't just focus on me. Like we had really good post players, really good point guards, really good guards. So I think like definitely we would have never won a state championship if it was just my team. Like heck no. So just super grateful for the people that I played with and the coaches. And I mean, when they give you access to a gym kind of whenever you want, that obviously, or not whenever I want, but like having access to a gym before practice, after practice, obviously that helps a little bit too. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, how about the recruiting process? How did you end up becoming interested in Gannon and then choosing Gannon?
Yeah, my recruiting process was super long. I did not even know about Gannon until March of my senior year of high school. So I mean, my junior year, I was getting recruited by some like smaller mid majors. Went on some visits. Going into my senior year was kind of similar. I didn't really even know what Division II basketball was. Went on a visit to a couple Division III schools. And then the end of my senior year, we lost in the state championship game, and I still didn't have a home for college,
Wow.
which kind of stunk. But like I said, luckily I had coaches that were super persistent about just reaching out and making phone calls. And fortunately, Kim Vargas, so long story short, Kim Vargas played at Broad Run High School, graduated there in probably like '05 or '06, and then played here at Gannon. And I think Coach Reed got a hold of her coach, I think Mike O'Hara was his name, and Coach O'Hara called Coach Wright, who's the coach at Gannon. It was like, hey, you got to check out this kid, Brittany Batts. And he was like, I've seen Brittany Batts. Like, no, like, but then they were persistent. They sent him some high school game film. Coach Wright called Coach Allen, and Coach Allen was like, you will not regret this. Like, you got to get this kid. So came on my visit to Gannon. I don't know, we're probably talking like end of March, April of my senior year. And then got to play pickup with the team. Luckily, it was one of the best pickup games of my life.
Oh,
So, um, yeah, and when we were driving onto campus, we saw this like big field, and I was like, "Oh my gosh, Dad, that's a huge field!" And it was actually the lake frozen over, so got to
wow.
see Erie winter pretty quickly. But yeah, so yeah, fortunately came on my visit again, and I kind of knew this is where I wanted to be. Coach Wright said, okay, I'll call you within 10 days, like let you know my decision. And he waited till that 10th day to call.
Wow.
But fortunately, he offered me a scholarship, and I told him I'd wait till the next morning to call him back, but I knew
Exactly.
right away. Yeah, I remember I was on my way back from Italy. That's where I would go work out. I was on my way back from Italy. I got the phone call, and I got home and like ran downstairs, told my parents right away, and they were all excited. It was pretty cool. Definitely a special moment. I don't think any of us will forget it. And obviously, I like Gannon a lot. I'm here. This is my 8th year here. So
Good.
all worked out very, very well. So
Exactly. You could do marketing.
yeah.
You could do marketing for Gannon. You do amazing.
Yeah.
And actually, you already do. So if Gannon didn't come through, if you didn't have that connection, Vargas, and then coach, and you had a great tryout, you may have gone somewhere and walked on. Is that what could have happened?
Yeah, I mean, I could have ended up like one of the, like you said, one of the many Division III schools in Virginia, or yeah, like you said, maybe tried to walk on somewhere. I really didn't know what I wanted to do. Once I came on and visited at Gannon, I was like, I want to go to Gannon. So fortunately, it all worked out. You just gotta, I mean, the recruiting process, I don't wish that upon anybody. It's just a hard process. I think when you're 17 years old and you're trying to make a decision like that, it's not easy. Um, and sometimes where you want to go isn't necessarily the right place for you. Like, fortunately for me, where I wanted to go turned out to be the best place for me. And just staying like true to yourself throughout the recruiting process, and don't try to be somebody else to impress a coach or anything like that. But yeah, just really, really lucky the way everything worked out the way it did. And like I said, I'm so grateful for all those coaches in high school that were in my corner, who believed in me from day one and said, like, I remember my dad would always say, he's like, you just need a gym. Like once you get 24/7 access to a gym, like your game is going to go through the roof. And I got 24/7 access to a gym here again. And so just really, really grateful for the people that never gave up on me and always believed in me no matter what other people were saying. So
Well,
super
they're
grateful for
they're
that.
lucky to have you as well. So because you've more than proven yourself. What advice would you give players that are in your situation, that they're in their senior year, and it's probably even worse nowadays because of the portal, and there's so much more uncertainty now than ever. You would think because of social media it'd be easier to find places, but I think it's kind of gone the other way the last few years. What advice do you give people who are really good players, but haven't found a home, and it's March, and they can either
Yeah.
just enroll somewhere as a student, play in intramurals if you don't make the team, or so. What do you say to the young players?
Yeah, I think the most important thing is being who you are and staying true to yourself, right? Like you can't try to act like you're somebody else to hopefully impress a coach. And the second you try to start impressing coaches, you're probably going to do something that you don't normally do. But yeah, just staying true to you are, trust in your gut, trust in like your values, and finding the place that's right for you. And hopefully like those values will match with someone, those passions will match, and you'll find the right place to go. But um, you can never send like it's never not smart to send an email to a coach. They may look at it, they may not, but it may be the coach who looks at it and is like, oh my gosh, this player could be a great fit for our program. So just being persistent with that recruiting process. And like I said, I was fortunate I had those coaches in my corner doing that for me, or else I wouldn't be where I am today, that's for sure. So
Yeah, do you think
yeah.
generally coaches, high school coaches who are underpaid anyway, they do a good enough job of advocating for their players?
I think they do a great job. I mean, I've never called a high school coach about a player and then turned me away. That's for sure.
Yeah.
So I think high school coaches go above and beyond for their players. And like you say they're extremely underpaid, but they care so much, and they're having to juggle so many different hats as a high school coach. And I think they want the best for their team. They want the best for their players. Like I remember when I was in high school, Coach Fisher took me on a visit one time. Like my parents had stuff going on, and I think it was my second time going to that school. And Coach Fisher drove me up for the visit, which was great. And it's like we've had that here at Gannon, like it's the high school coach bringing them on the visit or the AAU coach or whatnot. So I just see the effort that they put in for their players, and it's something I appreciate a lot. It's great for our game that when people do that. So
Yeah. So
yeah.
what was the adjustment to Division two basketball? Now again, now you scored more than 1,000 points. 2 years you were over 45% from 3-point land, which is great. So you
Mhm.
definitely have had a solid career. What was the key to you getting comfortable and having a successful career?
Yeah, I think similar to high school, when I got here as a freshman, the upperclassmen took me under their wing once again. Like, I was super fortunate. There was another shooter here. She was a senior. She actually lives in Ashburn now. She's gonna have a daughter you're gonna know in a couple years. Her name's Avery Herman.
Yeah.
You're gonna know the name in like 10 years. She's probably gonna go to Broad Run or something like that. But her name, Caitlin Lowe, was her last name at the time, and she really took me under her wing, showed me what it was like to be a Gannon women's basketball player. I mean, she was a shooter, I was a shooter. She could have easily shooed me away, but she really showed me what it was like to be a Gannon women's basketball player. And I mean, there's so many players I played with like that too. But I think like the biggest difference when you get to college, like you thought you worked hard in high school, like you didn't work hard in high school. Like you get to college and it's a whole nother level. But I think being at Gannon, wherever when your back's against the wall, your back's against the wall with 14 other people right next to you. So it was like we always talk here, like you create great experiences through shared pain, like preseason, like conditioning tests and stuff like that, and shared joy. So like we go on a trip every year, or like obviously the celebration in the locker room after a win or whatnot. So, but yeah, the commitment it takes to be successful at the college level is way higher than the commitment it takes to be successful at the high school level. And just seeing that right from the get-go. Like I remember I came to work camp here going into my freshman year. And one of the players, Kelsey McCoy, she picked me up at the airport and she's like, okay, we're going to the gym. We're going to get our workout in right now. I was like, okay, like this is great. So, but yeah, just being surrounded by really good people. I think that's such a key to success is when you surround yourself with people who are like-minded and want to do well for themselves and for the person right next to them.
Yeah. What was the biggest weakness you had to address as a college player?
Gosh, probably, I mean, my defense, it was, I had to learn how to be really smart with how I played defense. Like, I'm not the quickest player by any means, but I could understand the game pretty well. So I had to just learn how to be really smart. Like, if you're in help, like knowing how long it would take me to close out, or like knowing, am I on a shooter? Like, I can't let this kid shoot, or am I on a driver? Like in high school, you kind of did scouting reports, but not really. But like in college, you did scouting reports. You knew every player on the other team, like, are they a shooter? Are they driver, righty, lefty? Whatever it may be. And I think adjusting to that and just learning how to use my IQ to my advantage um, was something that I felt like was a big adjustment in how much we value defense here at Gannon. I mean, I'm a shooter. Like shooters are known for not being great defenders. So,
Be honest.
um,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
but no, I think that was the biggest adjustment is like how locked in you have to be on every single possession on defense, not just like when you're the person you're guarding has the ball. Um, and I think I did a good job adjusting. You can ask my head coach one day. I'm not really sure, but I like to think I was relatively smart. You had to put me on a shooter or a driver. Don't put me on someone who can probably do both. So,
Yeah, exactly.
but yeah,
What
you
what game what game do you look back on, if any, the most? So what
go.
was probably your best game, or at least the most memorable game you played at Gannon?
Again, and gosh, when we played in the Atlantic Regional Championship here in 2013 to go to it was the Sweet 16 game to go to the Elite Eight. Place was packed, almost standing room only. Like I remember there was a play towards the end of the game. We got a steal, and one of my teammates had an and one, and like we could literally feel the floor shaking under us. So that's definitely a core memory, just like playing in front of so many alums, so many community members. My parents were able to make it up to the game. And then we were going to the Elite after that. Like we were cutting down the nets after that game. So that's definitely way up there for memories as a player. And yeah, so many. I mean, I could name a lot, but that's definitely high up there on the list. Yeah.
It says a lot about you that the memory that you talked about was not one necessarily involving you scoring. It was about the team. So that does say a lot about you. You're not a selfish scorer like I implied earlier today. So you become a coach, and I interviewed a lot of coaches, all different levels, even NFL, NBA, I think, but lots of college coaches. And many of them talk about how tough coaching is these days. I mean, the
Mhm.
hours are very long and it's just very tough. And I looked at your staff, and most Division III and Division II staffs, they're not like have a lot of people. They're like, one or two assistant coaches, and that's it. It's not like
Yep.
the division like George Mason that was over there the other day. There was had 10 coaches over there.
Yeah.
But it's not like that in many levels. And they're all working hard. Um,
Mhm.
how hard do you have to work? And is it a tough lifestyle, life as a college assistant?
I think coaching is not really a career, it's a lifestyle. That's something we kind of say. Like, yeah, it's your job, but it's also your lifestyle because like something needs to get done. It doesn't matter if it's Saturday at 2 o'clock or Monday at 2 o'clock. Like when the job needs to get done, you get it done. So that's kind of, I wouldn't say it was an adjustment for me because it's all I knew. Because when I got into coaching, I never worked another job before coaching. And you just have to be willing. Hopefully, it doesn't seem like a sacrifice, but there are sacrifices you have to make because the team is the most important thing. And you got to be willing to be available for them at all times. And obviously, our travel, being at Division II and the PSAC, luckily, our travel is not terrible by any means, but there are nights on the road or whatnot, or spending, you may have a Tuesday off and you're going to go spend that to go recruit on the other side of the state or whatever it may be. Um, so I think it's just being willing to do the little things. There's no job that's too little or too big for me. And especially, like you said, our staff isn't very big and we're just willing to help each other out. And like we each have our roles and responsibilities, but not being too big to be like, oh no, like I've been coaching here a while. Like that's not for me. Like, no, like what kind of attitude is that? So you just got to be willing to do anything possible for the betterment of the team. I mean, I love the lifestyle of coaching for sure. I mean, I get to be around 15 student athletes every single day and hopefully be a positive mentor towards them and hopefully help them not just right now, but they may think of something we taught them 10 years down the road or whatnot. So just super grateful for the opportunity to do that every single day.
Yeah, I bet you spend a lot of time in your car.
Yeah, in season, not quite as much. So
Okay.
fortunately, but when you do have to recruit, like when we've had some of these big classes in the summers and whatnot, you are hitting the road quite a bit to go see these kids wherever it may be. And it's funny, like sometimes they'll literally live like 2 hours from here, but like you got to go to Louisville to watch them play, or you got to go to Cincinnati to watch them play, or wherever it may be. But
Yeah.
I remember when I was at Division III, I spent a lot of time in my car because you're
Mm,
trying to go to all those high school games because you don't have commits a lot of times by the time the high school season starts. So
right.
you're trying to go to as many things as possible. So
Well, that's good. It's better now. Well, look, Brittany, this has been great. I'm so glad you agreed to do this. It was great. It's great to meet you. You're a young coach, and you've had incredible success as an assistant. Obviously, you're
thank
going to be
you.
big. Oh, Oh, you're welcome. Obviously, you're going to be a great head coach candidate when the time comes. When you think about that, do you know exactly the type of head coach you want to be? Have you spent a lot of time, like when you're working on the staff or when you work for all the different stops? Have you thought a lot about the kind of coach you're going to be, or do you just try to learn as much every day and you'll cross that bridge when you kind of come to it?
Yeah, I think I lean more towards on the like learning everything I can every single day. Like there's certain stuff we'll come across and I'll like get out a little notebook and like write down a situation or whatnot and be like, okay, would I do the exact same thing here? Would I handle it a little bit differently? Just trying to be aware of like situations that come up because like especially when I was in like my first couple years, like we would deal with like you deal with situations all the time, and like I would never write anything down, but like now I'm like, okay, we just dealt with this situation. I'm writing down like what we did to deal with it, and you may deal with it the same way in the future, whether it's I'm a head coach, assistant coach, or maybe you deal with it completely differently because you're dealing with different personalities. So there's like no right or wrong way to do it necessarily because you always got to think like the human element is so prevalent in like every decision we make. So it's like you kind of got to put personalities into consideration as well. But at the end of the day, you're making decisions that are best for the team. And whenever I get the opportunity to become a head coach, like the team comes first all the time. Like I got to make the decision that's best for the team. Like I will care about every individual person, love on every individual person. But at the end of the day, the decision that's made is going to be what's best for the team because we are a team. So
Yeah,
definitely, I think every coach I've worked for, like that's one of the hardest things about coaching is like, okay, you're making this decision for the group as a whole. It may hurt X, Y, and Z a little bit, but you got to make the decision for the team. So
yeah.
yeah,
Well, I'm excited for you. First of all, I'll take one game at a time. I'm excited for you guys to be 23-5. But I'm excited to follow your success the rest of the season and also here
thank
on
you.
in. It was so nice to meet you. Maybe one day if you're in Leesburg, we can get a coffee or something. But I'm always
Yeah,
oftentimes I'm at the game. So if you ever need a tip on a player or if I ever see anybody that's like
yeah.
looking,
We'll get
I
those
can't.
Nova kids up here to Gannon. I'm always saying, I'm like, hey, it's hidden talent down there because there's so many good
There's so
players. And it's like you said, there's D1 and D3, but D2 gets kind of lost in the shuffle because you just got those two schools outside of Richmond. Well, and I guess Y is down in the western side of the state. But yeah,
yeah.
like we got to dip into the DMV a little bit more. So
I mean,
yeah.
Division 2, they got money. There's money to be
Yeah.
gotten. You don't have to
Hmm.
pay these private schools in Virginia are, 40, 50, $60,000 a year.
Yeah.
So
Crazy.
yeah.
Yeah.
So and then even when you go there, there's no guarantee you're going to play because I mean they still have good rosters. So it's not
Hmm.
like a given that that's the solution. But anyway, look, this is I know you're busy. This has been great. Thanks so much for your time. And
Of
hopefully
course.
hopefully we can keep in touch.
Yes, I would love that. Yeah. Thanks for having me.
Oh, of course. Take care,
All
coach.
right.
Good luck the rest of the
Bye.
year.